Hey everyone, it's been a while since I've checked in digitally like this, or visually as it were. I'm sorry for a lot of things. I guess I would say radio silence more than anything. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of you, or hopefully some of you anyway, saw last week on Twitter that I mentioned not being in the best place. And, I mean, I appreciate those of you who listened when I said I kind of needed some time to myself and some privacy to figure some things out. I know some of you reached out to me right away, and that's okay. I know you guys just had my best interests in mind, and I appreciate that too. Uh, the long and short of what's going on is something very bad happened. I don't feel comfortable saying what yet, and I might never feel comfortable saying what. I can get rid of some worries for you right away. Rose is not breaking up with me. We're not in any sort of situation or any sort of problem. And I didn't do anything bad to her. Well, not directly. So that's not a thing. I'm not going to jail. That's good. It's just so you know, it's nothing serious. Well, I mean, it's serious, but it's nothing that you guys need to worry yourselves about. And I please ask that you continue to respect my very simple request of just not asking what happened. Curiosity is totally understandable, and I don't like to be that person who's like, I've got a secret, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm just being as transparent as I possibly can be without, well, frankly, telling about something I'm just not comfortable talking about yet. All you need to know is something bad happened, and it was a wake-up call. It was a huge wake-up call. It's been very, very unpleasant the last week. I almost didn't go to Foray because of it. I'm glad I did go. Had a great time. Hung out with a lot of friends. I don't have time to do a full video review of it right now, so I'm not going to, other than just saying thank you to everyone who I saw there. Thank you to everyone who stopped by the table. Thank you especially to my friends for getting me through a hard time. And thank you to Foray as a convention for putting on such a good show. You guys really know how to entertain a crowd. You know how to dedicate to a theme better than anybody else in furry. And you take great care of your attendees, so thank you all very much for that. The big thing is, relating back to what happened, they say, I've said it myself a couple times, that you're supposed to fake it till you make it, and there's some truth to that, but mostly that's about a state of mind. It's not about pretending that you're incredibly successful and then turning around and being like, just kidding, I lied. You shouldn't do that. And when I first started this venture about 3-4 years ago now, whatever it's been, I had to work a long time to get to that point, like a very long time. It was not easy. I saved up, as I've talked about, if you've been to any of my panels, which I think a lot of people have been over the years, if you've ever been to one of my panels, you know I've talked about saving up about $30,000 to comfortably start a business because you never know when you might need that money. The big thing is that over the last few months, that $30,000 that I had has started to trickle down. It's not completely gone, but it's awfully close, which means that operating this business, as much as I've tried to make it profitable and I've tried to do everything I can to make money in it, or not everything, we'll get to that later, it hasn't worked out exactly as I'd hoped. I don't want to call it a failure yet, but as a lot of you know, I posted a loss back in April or May. I know a lot of you have seen that on Patreon, that in May I fell about $1,300 short of projections, and that hurt. That hurt a lot. I didn't let on how much it actually hurt. The business, I mean, it hurt, of course it hurts, emotionally, it hurts you in here, like, wow, I'm really failing. But it hurts the business more, and the business is my livelihood. And there's no use in trying to put on a brave face and saying that this is okay, or that that's okay, or that anything is okay when it's not. So basically, things are not okay. I am in a lot of debt, which it's all self-incurred, you're going to incur debt running a business. That you have operating costs, you have things you can write off. But the fact of the matter is, if you are not making a good enough overhead and a good enough profit, like a net profit, to pay all your bills outside of your business, you know, your rent, your utilities, and everything else you got, which unfortunately I have a lot of that every month, it's not successful enough. And I feel, admittedly, I'm still not in a good place right now. I'm not going to try and act like I'm overly positive. I'm not going to try and inspire and wow you guys right now. I'm just going to be very real with you that it's a rough headspace to be in, because I'm not. You never want to call yourself a failure. You know, they say you're not a failure until you stop trying. That successful people fail all the time, and it's when you quit that it's a problem. But you need to be realistic enough when the chips are down and you really can't get back into it. You need to be realistic enough to take a step back and reconsider what you're doing. It's funny because, for transparency, for honesty, as far as books sold and actual money made so far, I'm ahead of pace this year, easily to eclipse last year. But that's also incurred greater operating costs because there's been more conventions, and it doesn't change the fact that I've still had to pull a lot from the savings that I built up over the years, to the point that it's almost whittled away completely. And I refuse to ever again, because it happened once before in my life, put myself in a situation where the savings that I've created, which you need that nest egg to live. Like, people don't realize, and a lot of people now, they have to do Kickstarters and GoFundMes because they get into trouble or something happens. You should really have a chunk of money set aside. You should be saving that from a very young age, so that when you're an adult and you're on your own and there's no one to bail your ass out of trouble, you have something to fall back on. A lot of people didn't have that. I had it once. It got used, and now I had it again for the business, and it's gotten used again. And I'm not the kind of person who... I'm not a charity case. I don't like just taking things. I'm not the kind of person who feels comfortable taking handouts, even if the situation justifies it. And it doesn't, because this is all my own doing. The big thing is there's a debt that has to be... There's a lot of debts that have to be paid, and I'm falling behind. Not making enough. That's the black and white of it. I had some suicide. Can't even talk. Suicidal thoughts. I've had a good lid on that for a long time. I battled with depression a lot as a kid and as a teenager, and I got control of it as an adult, and I was really proud of that. But you can't help slipping back into things a little bit. It's nothing I'm going to act on. Just again, wanted to be transparent. Wanted to be honest that I was in a really bad spot. Again, huge thanks to my friends for helping keep me upright and honest with myself this last couple of days, because it wasn't easy. I want to encourage people. I do. And I feel like a liar, like a huge lying scumbag, when I go on stage and I do these panels and I talk about being successful and people congratulate me for living a dream, and really I'm just barely skating by. It feels dishonest. It feels wrong. And I don't like the way it feels now that I'm having to come clean and say, yeah, I've made it work for a while, but it's been at the expense of a nest egg that if I didn't have that there, I couldn't have done this for even a few months, much less for 3 years. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this, so I'm just going to get that out of the way. If you're hurting yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever, in the name of making your business work, good. It shouldn't be easy. Like, self-starting a business is one of the hardest things you can do, and businesses fail by the droves every single day, and you don't even hear about it. If you are putting yourself in a difficult place because, yourself in a difficult place because of how hard it is to run your business, that's normal. You should expect that. But if you're hurting other people, it's time to reconsider. And the fact is that I hurt someone very close to me with a mistake that I made, and I can't thank her enough for her help with all this. But when you've hurt somebody else with your ambition's gone too far. So you need to dial it back. And for those of you wondering what my plan is, I don't have one. I don't. I never had I went into this balls deep, so to speak. I never really had a backup plan for if and when things failed, other than the nest egg, which again now has pretty much run dry. So it's a matter of this is not something I can just fix overnight, and for sure, I can't just turn around and say, well, I'm going to dig myself out of this, or we need a commission drive, or we need a donation drive, because that's not realistic. You know, the people who subside on that kind of shit, that's bad. If you're every single month you're having to take emergency commissions, that's not professional, it's not good, and it gives every other creator in the fandom, and, well, in general, a bad name, because then they look like they're irresponsible people. Generally speaking, we're not. The creative community has gotten so much better about being better with money, about having accountants, about managing taxes. It's all gotten a lot better, but there's still issues, and I never want to be the kind of creator who needs to come around at, you know, the last second at the end of the month and be like, if I don't dig 1,000 commissions out of my ass, then I'm not going to be able to pay rent. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I refuse to be that guy. So I don't have a plan. I'm working on it. I'm not going to do some crazy donation drive. I'm not going to do some, hey, we need to do a bum rush of commissions right now, because, again, that's a temporary fix. This is not about having one big boom to save the company, because that, if you look historically, a big boom to save a company usually results in the company paying their debts, making sure everybody gets a retirement cut, and failing anyway. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to find a way through this. It's going to be incredibly difficult. I am choking back some serious emotions right now, but I'm gonna find a way, you know. And I couldn't have gotten this far. The nest egg is important, of course. I mean, making a business about making money, but being able to do it is not just a one-man job. You know, Rose has been beyond supportive and understanding through all of this. I've got more friends than I could list and name that have helped me out, that have financially, emotionally, they've supported me in ways that I can never repay. So I'm very grateful to all of you for that. And, you know, we'll work on a plan. The fact of the matter is, Furry was a decent sales con. We turned a pretty good profit versus the price. So that helps us out in the here and now. Anthracon's coming up. We're not ready. Go figure, we're not ready. But we're working on it. I'm going to have the books ready. I promised that I would. Everything will be ready. I'll have the 2 books there to debut. Hello, cat. I should have known this was going to happen. She can sense sadness, I think. The new books will be ready, and at the moment in time, you know, I'm very strongly considering looking for full-time work again, because there's a big convention gap between the end of August and FurFest in November, or the end of November, and I need... She loves making this difficult for me. I need money. I need to run a successful business, and if this business cannot be saved, you got to pay the bills some other way. You know, it was nice to live the dream. If the dream is dead, then it's dead. And I've been chastised a couple times by a number of different people because I've said that if the business fails, I'm not going to try and start it up again, that I'm not going to try and write ever again. And I know a lot of people have said, well, that's stupid, and I'm not arguing with them, but there is definitely a point of stubbornness when you really do put your heart and soul into something, and it fails, and it leaves behind a very bitter taste. It becomes difficult to approach that thing again. You know, I've gone from being nominated as the guest of honor at First Squared for 2019 to this. It's a very difficult juxtaposition to handle. But the course of action right now is just go through Anthracon, sell the 2 new books. We're still scheduled to sell at Megaplex, but I need a hotel room if anyone wants to help out with that. And then at the end of August is IFC. After that, I'm not scheduled to do any conventions until FurFest, and that's a long gap to go through without selling any books at a major con. And that's assuming we get into FurFest, because I've heard nothing back yet. So, you know, the business model has remained the same since the beginning. You know, we need to sell more ebooks because passive income it's a beautiful thing. Passive income is where a lot of businesses are making their bread and butter now, and you kind of need it. We need more patrons. We've actually lost 2 or 3 patrons this month, a couple of them due to their own financial hardships, which I totally respect, and I hope things get better for you guys. I know I haven't posted nearly as much as I said I was going to. This has been a long time coming, and it's made the struggles financially have made it difficult to get into a good headspace to create. And I used to have a really good hold on that, but having this reality sort of dawning on me made it a little harder than usual to get things out. Like I said before, a commission drive here, like a big old rush of people coming in at the last second and saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know things were so bad," is not going to save this business. It's not. You need a long-term sustainable thing. It would be better to take 2 or 3 commissions a week and have those 2 or 3 guaranteed every week than to say get 20 right now and just put a dent in what's ultimately a long-standing debt. I'm smart. I have the business sense to recognize that I'd rather get 2 commissions a week for the next 10 weeks than get 20 commissions right now and not be able to finish them all because I'm behind again. And I am sorry for that as well. I know that was one of my big goals for 2018 was to not get behind like I have. I really appreciate all of your patience in that. I've got a couple that I'm probably going to talk to you guys about refunding because there were a couple I took that I just shouldn't have taken. And I did it because of a situation of desperation, which I have yelled at other people for, so shame on me. If I feel like I can't get something done, I will talk to you about refunds, or if you've already paid for a certain amount of work, if you have another idea that perhaps we can agree on. But the idea right now is just to keep working. I've got, 2 or 3 weeks until Anthrocon, and I will use that time to get as caught up as humanly possible with anything that I've got in the backlog. I don't anticipate anything new coming in because this kind of post is not the kind of thing that inspires you to want to commission someone typically unless it's out of a place of desperation, and again, I don't want that. I don't want this to feel like a call to arms because it's not. I want things to continue as normal. I want to sell more books. I want to have more Patreon interaction, as it were. And I want to get back to how things were earlier in the year. I want to get back to the model I was doing in February and March, which was pretty good. So that's, again, I don't really have a plan. I'm working on the plan, but that's for the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's it, is getting caught up on the backlog, selling the best that I can at these upcoming conventions, and from there, who knows? If the conventions go really well, if we are getting 3 or 4 commissions a week, maybe it's not a big deal. But the fact is, again, you can't put yourself this close to the bandsaw and not have some sort of a fall off, and I don't anymore. It is gone. So we're just gonna try to do our best. I'm gonna try very hard not to fall into a dark place. I know I don't want to do that. I don't want anyone to feel responsible. You guys have been, and I do mean you guys, like everybody, anyone who has ever supported me financially, as a friend, as a fan, publicized my stuff, read my work. It really does touch me. The closest I've been to tears this video is admitting that every time someone comes up to my table, because it does happen, and says, "You're a very talented person, please don't stop writing," I really do get touched inside. If I never made a dime again, that alone would make it worth it. And in a perfect world, I can have both. I can have the finances, and I can have the ability to make other people happy. But I need to make a certain amount of finances for that to be the case, and we'll see if we can get there again, because right now we're not there. I know I kind of rambled off a little bit. I was going to try and keep this concise, but I knew it would never work. But thank you all very much for following along with this and with everything else I've ever done. And hopefully the next time I release a video, probably near the end of August or maybe the beginning of September, I've got some better news, and with any luck you guys will actually see signs of that better news along the way. But transparency was a bit of a lacking point on my part, and I intend to be much more transparent over the next few months, for better or for worse. And again, just thank you all very much for your patience, for your support, for everything you've done for me. I Again, there are people who I really feel like I'll never be able to repay for what they've done to help me succeed. This is my failure, not yours, and I want to make it better. And if making my life better, if making other people's lives better means putting this business to bed for a while, maybe forever, then so be it. It was a good run. But hopefully the run isn't over. Thank y'all so much, and everyone have a wonderful rest of the month of June, and I'll see some of you in July.